the British. When he wasn't shooting people, Crockett earned his living as a bear hunter. Davy killed 100 bears every year, at least he said he did, selling their meat, fur, and oil for profit. Then Davy Crockett got elected to Congress. In January 1836, he had left the office and traveled to San Antonio, Texas to help defend the Alamo. There, Davy Crockett was shot dead at the age of 49. Back in a moment. Are you trapped in a timeshare? Fees rise every year, while availability keeps shrinking, and resorts make exiting nearly impossible. That's why I endorse only one timeshare exit company, Lone Star Transfer. They're family-owned, transparent, committed to treating every client with respect while telling you the truth. Lone Star Transfer has helped more than 40,000 owners exit their timeshares legally and ethically through a simple, proven process. First, you receive a complimentary case review to confirm eligibility. Next, an exit strategy is customized to your specific situation. Finally, the Lone Star Transfer team implements your plan, guarantees results. So please visit LoneStarTransfer.com or call 855-551-7066. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.
News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. During a cabinet meeting today, President Trump says Iran will have to decide if it wants to reach a deal to end the war.
They are begging to make a deal, not me. They're begging to make a deal. And anybody that saw what was happening over there would understand why they want to make a deal. But they say, oh, we're not talking to them. Anybody would know that. And only a total fool. And they're not fools. They're very smart, actually, in a certain way. And they're great negotiators. I say they're lousy fighters, but they're great negotiators.
Iranian officials have denied that they're negotiating with the U.S. as the war continues in its fourth week. Asian nations scramble for other sources of crude oil as shipments through the Strait of Hormuz become limited because of the U.S.-Iran war.
Desperate Asian countries are increasingly competing for Russian crude oil as an energy crisis mounts over the Iran war, which has choked off roughly a fifth of the world's oil supply. The rush for Russian oil comes following the U.S.'s temporary sanction waivers on Russian oil shipments. Asia, where most of the oil from the mostly shut Strait of Hormuz was headed, has been hit the hardest by recent energy shocks. Analyst Putra Adhiguna.
The longer the crisis goes, the deeper the problem will be for each of these government and countries.
But even as Asian demand rises, I'm Karen Shamas.
Senators are trying to move quickly to debate a last and final offer to end the funding impasse involving the Department of Homeland Security. The funding lapse that's led to a partial government shutdown now has jammed airport security lines. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 469 points, the Nasdaq plunged 521, the S&P lower by 114. More at Town Hall.
This is Dennis Prager for AmFed Coin and Bullion. There's something about the feel of a gold coin in your hand and the way the light reflects off its intricate details that has always captivated me. Nick Grovich, AmFed's owner, turned that same passion into his livelihood. Nick began collecting coins as a teen, and that interest grew into a nationally respected business offering only the finest quality coins at the most competitive prices. But the truth is that although Nick is a rare coin dealer, he doesn't believe in rare coins. Rare coins do not make sound investments, but they do make dealers a lot of money. See, that's part of what I respect about him. AmFed specializes in buying non-performing numismatic coins and turning them into gold or silver investments that provide liquidity and perform competitively against the market. Whether you're buying or selling, call 800-221-7694. That's 800-221-7694. AmericanFederal.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Watch for storms between 9 p.m. and 3 a.m. It's a first alert weather day. Some of these storms could be strong, with hail being the primary risk. A cold front moves in tonight. Temperatures are a bit cooler tomorrow. For Friday, we get a high of 55 degrees with partly cloudy skies. And the weekend, we start to see those temperatures rebounding once again. With your first alert forecast, I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Ready for instant curb appeal that comes with a 25-year transferable warranty? Call Rhino Shield today. We do brick, block, stucco, asbestos, aluminum, steel, cedar, and more. Over the past 20 years, we've done thousands of homes, businesses, churches, schools, condos, parking garages, large metal buildings, and strip malls, from Champaign to the Lake of the Ozarks. We do flat and sloped metal roofs to extend their lives too. Proud to be veteran-owned and manufactured in the good old USA, so we're tariff-free. We're exceeding expectations every day. Evaluations are free. A+ rated with the BBB and a lot of 5-star Google reviews. Call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
The story behind the story. Only by God's grace, most of us didn't die for stupid things when we were kids.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now. They just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
The IOC, that's the Olympics governing body, has just dropped a bombshell, announcing it is reintroducing genetic sex testing for all women in sport, nearly 30 years after it stopped the practice for being inaccurate and harmful to women. Here's IOC President Kirsty Coventry.
The scientific evidence is very clear. Male chromosomes give performance advantages in sports that rely on strength, power, or endurance. At the Olympic Games, even the smallest margins can be the difference between victory and defeat. So it's absolutely clear that it would not be fair for biological males to compete in the female category.
You know, British people could be reading the back of a cereal box and they would sound really super intelligent, wouldn't they? Well, it's all Sports Thursday here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. We bring you some very positive sporting news. How about that, Chris? Sanity reigning supreme. Probably 4 or 5 years too late, but they finally got around to it. The International Olympic Committee saying, you know, only biological men should play in men's sports and biological women should play in women's sports.
You know, it's almost like the fever is starting to break or has broken on this whole transgender movement, especially when it comes to athletics. I applaud the Olympic Committee for this. It's not fair to have men competing against women. You know, there are a lot of world and Olympic records at stake here. And I think for the sake of the Olympics, they want to keep those records pure. And it's amazing that they're recognizing biology that, yes, males are stronger and faster than women. And it gives these guys that are pretending to be girls an unfair advantage. And I think also, too, that I think if you have this transgenders in sports, I think it may make people not want to watch them as much. You know, maybe the audience will go down because they're watching something that's fundamentally unfair.
That could be very true. There could be definitely the profit motive there, right? Look, I mean, the Olympics wouldn't exist in the way they do if there wasn't a bazillion eyeballs around the world watching them every 2 years, right? Because we have the Winter Olympics and the Summer Olympics staggered. They did that. I
wish they wouldn't do that. I loved it when the Summer and the Winter Olympics were in the same year.
It's money. They got to make more money. You know?
Stretch it out.
But on the other hand, Chris, I have a feeling that, you know, the IOC, which, you know, tends to be a little woke these days, if you watch any of the opening or closing games, there's an eye roll here or there. I have a feeling they're also doing it for an altruistic purpose. People were getting hurt, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
And they don't want a catastrophe. Like, what the most horrific thing would be if we all witnessed a biological male seriously injuring or, God help us, killing someone on international television. That wouldn't be good for the Olympics either. And so I think they probably were like, yeah, let's go back to biology and science and not have biological males competing in women's sports.
You just brought up a memory for me. I think I remember in the last Summer Olympics in the women's boxing competition that there was a transgender female or male that was competing in that tournament. Surprise, surprise, she won the gold medal. But the controversial aspect of that is, you remember one of the boxers, she just refused to compete against this person. It's like, I'm taking my life in my hands sitting here boxing against a man.
And even in sports where, you know, you would think, okay, really, is there that much difference? Apparently there is. Remember in the fencing competition a year or two ago, there was a young lady who said, who withdrew, and she made a big deal out of it, and they were like really mad at her, and she's like, screw you all, I'm not going to compete against a male. We've had situations in this country with female volleyball players taking the full brunt of a biological male's spike serve, crushing that one girl's orbit. Her orbital bones were all shattered just because the force that a biological male can deliver against a female athlete is something, I'm sorry, that cannot be understated.
And we saw the same thing a couple of years ago in the female high school basketball game where the transgender female went up for a rebound and basically just manhandled the woman that was guarding him, and I think she ended up getting hurt, had a concussion or something. So common sense is starting to prevail. I think, as I said, the transgender movement, it was at its nadir a few years ago, but I think it's finally that fever is broken and common sense is prevailing.
I sure hope so. And, you know, we don't always say this, even as one myself, a recovering attorney. Thank God for the lawyers, because they're starting to win some multi-million-dollar judgments against some of these witch doctors who have convinced parents that their very, very young children should undergo life-altering, irrevocable surgeries. We've been seeing multi-million-dollar verdicts in some parts of the country, including even in crazy California. So hope springs eternal that the woke mob will, at least for now, be put back in its corner. So that's some happy sporting news. Chris, some other happy sporting news is baseball. Major League Baseball is celebrating opening day. That includes our own St. Louis Cardinals. And tonight we continue with the men's March Madness NCAA basketball games. Here's the highlights tonight, Chris. We got 4 games tonight. Texas, number 11 Texas, a little bit of a Cinderella story there because they knocked off number 1 seed of all defending champs, Florida.
Right.
Texas takes on Purdue. Iowa takes on Nebraska. Arkansas takes on Arizona. And the Illini take on Houston. Tomorrow night, my St. Johnny's, the Red Storm, will play number 1 overall seed, the dreaded Duke Blue Devils.
Yeah, that's going to be a good game. Old school champions against new school champions. As we've said many times here, St. John's was a perennial powerhouse back in the day. It's nice to see them have a resurgence, and it's good to see college basketball back. I forgot that the games will start again this Thursday, and this last weekend was probably the first weekend in years that I really got into the tournament games. Extremely enjoyed them. The thing about March Madness, every single game is close, and that's what makes it so exciting.
Mm-hmm. I asked Joey, Chris, to pull. I don't know if you saw the. The end of the St. John's game. It was we didn't play. We should have played this earlier in the week when it was a little fresher, but they haven't played their next game yet. So I'm going to keep rooting for the Johnnies till they're out of the tournament. They played Kansas. Can you believe that they had to play Kansas? Next is Duke. And the score was back and forth all game long. It was tied. I believe it was tied near the end of the game. And this kid charged down the floor for St. John's, and this is what happened next.
All right, now they cannot foul. And now you're down to 3.9. But exactly. Great job. St. John's just kept inbounding into the backcourt, allowing them a lot of time. Now Bill Self and his staff making sure they know no fouls.
This is going to be Darling. He's got to go.
Darling puts it up. St. John's is going to the Sweet 16.
Dylan Darling getting downhill and sending the Johnnies to the Sweet 16.
For the first time since 1999.
Still gives me goosebumps hearing it. Chris, that's March Madness all wrapped up there in about 38 seconds.
Tim, whatever happened to St. John's program? Like I said, they were a perennial powerhouse, and then they kind of waned for a lot of years. Usually when that happens, there's like NCAA violations. They lose scholarships that they can give to players. What happened? Was that the case, or is just other teams came on the forefront and players wanted to go there instead? What was the situation? Do you know?
So I was at St. John's for law school between 1993 and 1996, and that was so much fun. That was back in the 90s heydays. They had those 2-point guards from the Bronx who were absolutely phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Chris, as students, we got to St. John's played half of its home games at the Garden down at Madison Square Garden. And as students, we got student tickets to sit on the floor at Madison Square Garden and watch.
Go ahead, you can say Garden.
And watch Big East basketball. Yeah. Back then, Georgetown, UConn, Lehigh, St. John's. I mean, I could go on and on. The West Virginia, it was phenomenal. And then I left. I was still in New York through 98. They were good through like 99. Mm-hmm. It might have been a coaching change. I think that may have been when they went through.
Wasn't Boeheim the coach at St. Or that was Syracuse Orange.
Yeah,
Boeheim.
I'll have to look up. It was another famous guy. And you're right. I came back home to St. Louis in 1998. And then a couple years later, St. John's basketball went downhill, never recovered. And I stopped watching them. I stopped paying attention because they went through a 20-year drought, basically. First time back to the Sweet 16 since 1999, along with Iowa, halfway across the country. The Iowa, are they the Cornhuskers?
Yeah.
The Iowa Cornhuskers, their basketball program has not been to the Sweet 16 since 99. A lot of great storylines, and that's the great thing. Putting aside all this stuff with the portal and all the other things that have, I think, kind of damage college sports. It's really cool to see these young men and women, because the women's games are fun to watch as well. You had Caitlin Clark up until a couple years ago, and now she's in the WNBA. It is fun to watch this. These are kids who have their entire life ahead of them, and to have these one shining moments, as the song goes, are really stirring. They're really heart-moving. This all happens during spring. We're in the season of Lent, about to hit Easter. It's always a really positive time of the year, I think.
And there was a song in the middle 80s to show you how St. John's was a perennial powerhouse in basketball. Run DMC, in one of their lyrics, Run says that he attended St. John's University.
No way.
Yeah, he mentions that.
Way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I don't know if that's
fantastic.
true, but he was just looking for something to rhyme.
Chris, how could I forget? The famous Lou Carnesecca.
Oh, yeah.
Coached the Johnnies back in the 1990s. And Chris,
were they the Red Men then?
They were, and then the Red Storm. So Lou Carnesecca up there until 92, and then we had Brian Mahoney when I was there, 1992 to 96, and then they had Frank Fraschilla, 96 to 98, and then Mike Jarvis. So they went through a lot of coaches in the 2000s. Let's see, Mike Jarvis. And then, now they've got Rick Pitino, who is just, what a gentleman. I mean, he is old school. He's an old school coach, and he has definitely taken them. He took them to the dance last year. They went out in the first round. That was not a good game. Now they're playing in the Sweet 16. I don't know that they can get past Duke, but Duke has got to be the weakest number 1 overall seed I've seen in a long time. They almost lost to Siena in the first round, a 16 seed. So we'll see what the fellows from Queens can do tomorrow night.
And a lot of times when you have those number 1 seeds facing the last seed, you kind of overlook that game. You're looking to the next round. This is a team that we're going to blow out of the water. But that 16th seed, they're usually pretty hungry, and they play real hard. And, they want to be the Cinderella story of the tournament because there's always one Cinderella team that you don't expect to go as far as they do, but they do.
And they seem like they're getting better every year, indeed. We've got a great show. We're going to shift gears back to the public policy, international foreign policy front with Steve Bucci coming up 425. Are we any closer to a deal with Iran, or is it all bluster? Steve Bucci will break that down for us at 425. 445 will have Chris's Corner.
Yeah, when government taxes create black markets, have an interesting story about that from down under, about government created a black market, and it's been an absolute disaster.
Mm-hmm. At 507, Speaker Stump Speech, I'm going to talk. We're going to give some more attention to that horrible shooting, that horrific shooting of that young college student in Chicago. Speaker Mike Johnson, I had an op-ed published today. The system did not fail Sheridan Gorman. It worked exactly as Democrats intended. Some tough words for the Democrats who have ruined Chicago, as Chris says, Chirac up there in Chicagoland. And at 525, Chris, we're going to have a member of the Jones family on. She's actually a Tunno from mom's side.
Ah, great.
My mom's cousin, Franny. Fran Tunno is now an author. She's been working on this her whole life. Her dream has come true.
Where does she live?
She lived in California for a long time, but she may be back in Pittsburgh now. I don't know exactly where Fran's living these days. We'll find that out. And she's going to talk about my great Aunt Mary. She's got a book published called Come On Down. Yep, we're talking about The Price is Right. A little story about my Italian mom's big dream. It was my great Aunt Mary's lifelong dream as an Italian immigrant to appear with Bob Barker on The Price is Right, and she did it.
Don't give it away, but I wonder if she won the big showdown.
The story ended on a positive note.
All right.
I'll just say that. We're going to talk about Italian families, cooking, growing up in the Pittsburgh area, and more with my mom's cousin, Fran, at 525. You're not going to want to miss that segment of a lot of fun. Then 545, we'll wrap things up with...
we've got a Darwin Award winner here locally. I'm going to tell you about, and it's a tragic story.
Okay,
but,
we won't laugh.
This person is a Darwin Award winner.
Yikes! All right, all that and more. Steve Bucci kicking things off, answering the question: are we any closer to a deal in Iran? We'll answer that and more when we return on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Watch for storms between 9 p.m. and 3 a.m. It's a first alert weather day. Some of these storms could be strong, with hail being the primary risk. A cold front moves in tonight. Temperatures are a bit cooler tomorrow. For Friday, we get a high of 55 degrees with partly cloudy skies. And the weekend, we start to see those temperatures rebounding once again. With your first alert forecast, I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
Hey, everybody, it's your buddy Todd from The Right Mind Show. And here's my celebrity friend, Larry Hankin from Seinfeld and Breaking Bad.
I never wanted to end up, talking on the phone to Todd.
The Right Mind Show, Saturday afternoons at 5 on News Talk STL.
314-810 sold. That's the number for the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway. Rodney and Jen Wallner, they can be reached at 314-810 sold. And you should call that number if you're even thinking about selling your home. Look, have a conversation with excellent local hometown folks like the Wallners before you make any decisions regarding selling your home. Yep, still definitely a seller's market. The Wallners will offer you a flexible commission plan tailored to your needs, not some cookie-cutter boilerplate model. They're going to make sure whatever arrangement that they work out with you works for you, first and foremost. They do have so many approved home buyers standing by that they're going to guarantee to obtain you an offer on your property. They are licensed in both Missouri and Illinois, and Rodney and Jen are a wonderful husband and wife team. We know them personally extremely well. They've been with News Talk STL since pretty much the very beginning of the launch of our station. And now Jamie Ullman is working side by side with them as well. Yes, at the Wallner Home Selling Team. 3 excellent people for the price of one when you call the Wallners at 314-810-SOLD. There's no obligation or any long-term commitment with any of the arrangements that you set up with the Wallners. You can call them today for a free listing consultation, and you will sell your home with this top-producing real estate team of Rodney and Jen Wallner. 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
The St. Louis County Insider with Councilman Mark Harder.
This week on St. Louis County Insider with Mark Harder, we have Brad Dean, the president and CEO of Explore St. Louis. He will talk to us about upcoming conventions in the region. We also have Dennis Hancock, who is running for St. Louis County Executive on the Republican ticket. Tune in Sunday at 5.
The St. Louis County Insider with Councilman Mark Harder.
I'll talk to you Sunday night at 5, only on News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Ken Williams, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the Capistrami. You've got hot pastrami, melty Swiss cheese, crunchy coleslaw, and zesty Russian dressing. What else do you need? I love Capriati's, and you will too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
A celebration 100 years in the making. The National Route 66 Centennial Kickoff Celebration, presented by Vital Farms. Thursday, April 30th through Sunday, May 3rd in Springfield. The celebration kicks off with musical guests featuring Little Big Town, Chris Jansen, Gary LaVox, Gretchen Wilson, the Ozark Mountain Daredevils, and the Haygoods. Events continue through the weekend. You are invited to celebrate Route 66 with us April 30th. Tickets and information on Route66Kickoff.com. Brought to you by the Missouri Route 66 Centennial Commission.
This Steve Bucci update is brought to you by Hydrodynamics. For all your lawn irrigation, outdoor lighting, drainage, hardscapes, and turf management, online at hydrodynamicscorp.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
People like this, and now what I'm talking about is not the people of Iran. The people that run this country are radical Shia clerics. These are religious fanatics. Look what they are doing now. At their weakest point, this is the weakest Iran has ever been, and look at what they're doing. They're attacking embassies. They're attacking hotels. Imagine what these people would do if they had a nuclear weapon. That is an unacceptable risk for the world. By the way, the president's not just doing a favor to the United States and to our people. This is for the world.
Steve Bucci, visiting fellow for Special Ops at the Heritage Foundation.
Oh, yes. What were you about to ask me? Do you expect me to talk?
Steve, welcome into the show, my friend.
It's good to be back on the show. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Hey, before we get started, how did Mrs. Bucci's brackets do last weekend?
She's still doing pretty well. She picked even a couple of the, I can't give you the details, but she, because I don't know them, not that I'm hiding them or anything. But she picked a couple of the long shots that came through so far. So we'll see. I mean, she's from Iowa, so she's got University of Iowa and Iowa State in there both. So
excellent.
We'll see.
Okay, Steve, you heard that clip there coming in from Marco Rubio where he said that this is the weakest that Iran has been in a long time, probably since the beginning of the revolution. The question that many folks are asking is if the regime does stay in power, even though we've practically destroyed their military infrastructure, can this be considered a victory when this war does end?
Actually, yes, it could. I'm kind of hoping that's not where we leave it, because if you leave these people in power, number one, they're going to continue abusing just the regular Iranian people, which we have gotten kind of motivated to change things. I mean, if you read Twitter at all, the number of Iranians from around the world who want these guys out and the stuff that has snuck out from inside the country, it's clear that a big majority of Iranian citizens want to get rid of this government. So I think we would be doing the world and the Iranian people in particular a disservice if we let these thugs stay in office. And we're not going to do ourselves any good. It's an improvement. You know, they've got a lot less capability. They're not going to be able to blow up the world in the next couple of weeks or even in the next couple of years. But do we want someone who still has that as a goal to still be in power? I don't think so. And I don't think President Trump wants to do that or Secretary Rubio. So I hope we'll these guys, we're at the Baghdad Bob level of propaganda. You know, the one guy today said, now that all of the American bases around the region are destroyed and all of their people are hiding out in bunkers, we can finish this. We'll control the Straits of Hormuz forever. And that's total fantasy on, even at the most optimistic level. So that tells you they're in pretty dire straits. They are desperately lying to stay in power. And we need to finish this job, get rid of that regime, and allow the Iranian people to be free again. I think that's a worthwhile goal to seek, because this government for 46 years has been not just a thorn in the side of America and the West, but an active imminent threat. So all the idiots who say, well, there was no imminent threat. Yes, there has been for a long time. And even after the beatdown we gave them in the 12-day war last year, they've already begun rebuilding, or had been. Now they're kind of back to zero again. But we need to get these people out of power.
Steve, we've seen hide nor hair of the new reigning Ayatollah or whoever might be in power. Like, we haven't really seen much of anything as to who's allegedly running the nation right now. Who do you think the Americans are speaking with? And if they're speaking with members of the Revolutionary Guard, is the Revolutionary Guard as theocratic and as 7th century as the Ayatollahs and the mullahs? Or do we have hope for maybe a something that's maybe less radical than that we're dealing with at this point?
The guy that they've been talking to, and if you could put a gun to my head, I couldn't tell you his name, but he is a fellow who was part of the IRGC and now is a civilian and has been doing a different function. But from the sources that I've looked at, he is anything but a moderate. He is just as thug-like and just as much hands covered in blood as anybody else that's there. So I don't think the people we're talking to right now really make the cut of, they're not like the vice president in Venezuela who said, read the cards and said, no, I want to be friends with you Americans. We're good. We can change things. These guys are still pushing the fact that they, nothing's going to change, and they have not just the ability but the right to do all these threatening and hostile actions. I don't think we can talk to them. The IRGC troops and leadership are, in fact, true believers in the regime of the mullahs. They have the same. They're 12er Shias. They believe in the apocalyptic theology that the mullahs have preached and taught for the last 46 years. They are not the place, or it is not the place to go to look for moderate partners with whom to, chart out the future of Iran as a friendly country in the region. So sadly, I'd love to be able to tell you, oh, no, we can work with them. They've just been following orders. that is not the case. They have been leading, and in fact, I'm kind of the opinion that the present supreme leader, as you mentioned, we haven't seen him in the flesh. We had only a written statement out of him. I think he was chosen by the IRGC at just like the Praetorian Guard started putting emperors into power in the old Roman Empire with Claudius and then a bunch of them that came after that. So they're the power behind the throne here. That's not a place to look for partners.
Speaking with Steve Bucci, visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Steve, Americans are very war-weary after our wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and it's reasonable for the president to say that this campaign was going to be 4 to 6 weeks. But as a military veteran and a teacher at the Army's John F. Kennedy Special Warfare Center, was it a mistake for the president to say that this would be a 4 to 6 week war, and that really gives the Iranians incentive to hold out, to try to hold on and survive?
If you ask a military guy, we always say never put a date on it. Describe the conditions that you want to use to define success. And then once those are reached, you get out. Trying to put dates on things is kind of fraught with the problem of, you don't make it and all of a sudden, by your own definition, you're a failure. That said, given that there's a good chunk of people on the Republican side who frankly didn't want to do anything at all because they're really very much a libertarian, let's stay at home kind of bent right now. I think the Trump administration and the president were sort of almost required to explain to them that, look, this is not, we're not doing the global war on terror. This is taking out this one regime. They had the model that they used in Venezuela, which was, even more surgical than this by a long shot. So I think they had kind of painted themselves into the corner where they felt compelled to give that time limit. And I think it was based on an actual analysis on what we thought this country could withstand. And frankly, remember now, we're just in the third week now. We haven't reached that point yet, even the lower end one, and definitely not the higher end one of, 6 weeks or so. So I don't think that's been a complete failure yet. Let's wait and see. If the president can come through with the continued beating down and removal of these missiles, and they're getting more and more every day, the destroying of the drones, putting pressure on them through getting control of their oil, getting the Straits of Hormuz open so that there's no background noise from people that are upset about, rises in gas prices or effects on the world economy. I think that they can get to the end of this. I think there's a good chance they can. Obviously, there's no guarantee. But I think the benefit of getting a different non-threatening regime in that country is worth it. Certainly the Israelis believe it was worth it. The Gulf Arab states are all in alignment now saying this is what needs to be done. We've been worried about these guys, frankly, way more than they have been about Israel for a long time. And the mullahs need to go. So I realize that some of our other allies, like some of the Western European countries, don't really want to do this. But that, in the main, is because of their domestic constituencies. They have very large and, in many cases, problematic immigrant populations in their countries that are, going to raise heck if they came out in favor of it and went after the mullahs. But frankly, it's in their interest to do it too. They just haven't reached that conclusion yet.
Steve, as to some of the recent tactical moves, I would love to hear your opinion on what it means that the giant aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald Ford, is heading out of the region. but there are quite a few groups of Marines and elements of the 82nd Airborne heading in. Do any of those elements mean anything to you as to what may happen next in this conflict?
Yeah, look, the Gerald Ford is going out because they had this big fire on board, which was not caused by enemy fire or anything like that. It was some sort of an internal thing. I don't know if it was because sailors are ticked off because the Gerald Ford's been on deployment for an extra long time. You never know about that sort of thing. But they had a big internal fire. They got to get that fixed. It's leaving the theater just to do some repairs, and if necessary, we'll come back. But we've got more than enough air power there to replace that. And then with the amphibious readiness groups, the Marines and the ships that are associated with them are coming in. That gives us several things. One, it replaces some of the air power and missile launching capability that will go out with the Ford. Those ships in the ARG, big deck amphibs, that are like, they're not as big as the Ford, but they're bigger than World War II aircraft carriers. And they're going to bring that capability back up to almost what it was with the Ford in theater. The Marines on board can do lots of things. The 82nd, the whole division is not being deployed as yet, but the command group and some of their combat elements are starting to move. And I also read a report that there was a pretty robust Special Operations Task Force, a JSOTF we call it, Joint Special Operations Task Force, that is being set up there as well, which has two main aspects. One is the fact that we're advertising that we're doing that, not just trying to sneak all those folks in there, means they're using it for messaging. They are sending to the Iranians, if you're betting on us giving up and going home because we're into this a couple of weeks and we're not done, that might be a bad bet. And those of you that are hiding in the corners and that sort of stuff, we can come in and get you if we need to. The other thing they can do is to work on some of those islands around the Persian Gulf and the Straits of Hormuz. Obviously, the big one is Karg Island. These are forces that are pretty good at getting control of specified pieces of terrain like an island. Obviously, the Marines have amphibious capabilities plus helicopters and Ospreys. The 82nd comes with a lot of helicopters when it does come, and the special operators obviously have all of the special operations aviation. They can all get into things like islands very, very easily, or to do any incursions along the coast that they need to do. I don't think that's their first mission. I think the first mission is the messaging. But if that doesn't work, they can be used in environments where we can make sure that they are supported by overwhelming air power and other support, so that they're not going to get, we're not going to send a couple of battalions of Marines to fight, 3 armored divisions on the mainland of Iran. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it needs to happen, and I hope it doesn't. But they could take some of those islands where there are much fewer still functioning military units that are already pretty beaten down, and can probably kick them out and get control of those islands and use that as a base for helicopters and other things to ensure the security of the Straits and the rest of the Persian Gulf.
And that is Steve Bucci, visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation, heritage.org, and on X, S. Bucci. We wish good luck to Mrs. Bucci's brackets this weekend, Steve.
Okay, I'll let her know that you're pulling for her. That's good.
All right, my friend. Have a great weekend.
You too, guys. Take care and be well. Hopefully next week, maybe we can be talking about a victory parade.
That would be fantastic.
Great.
Hopefully we can have that. All right, it's 4:42. Chris's Corner, when government taxes create black markets. I'll have more on that next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL, number one for live and local conservative talk.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Watch for storms between 9 p.m. and 3 a.m. It's a first alert weather day. Some of these storms could be strong, with hail being the primary risk. A cold front moves in tonight. Temperatures are a bit cooler tomorrow. For Friday, we get a high of 55 degrees with partly cloudy skies. And the weekend, we start to see those temperatures rebounding once again. With your first alert forecast, I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
I think you're a little confused.
News, analysis, opinion.
I've got something to say and I can't hold it any longer.
1019 and 94.1.
You won't hear the truth anywhere but here. News Talk STL.
News Talk STL.
If water runs to it or through it, Ambassador Plumbing, they do it. Ambassador Plumbing can be found at ambassadorplumbing.com. Tim Jones here to tell you all about this fantastic, locally owned, independently owned, family-owned business in business for, I think they're going into their 8th or 9th year. Tim Morris, the master plumber, who is the main man there at Ambassador Plumbing, along with his wonderful wife, Austina, who keeps all the books in line and keeps all the appointments in order. Yes, they've been running Ambassador Plumbing 8+ years. Tim Morris has 25 years in experience, 25+ years experience as a master plumber. Tim and Austina own this awesome business. Most of their employees, family members, very close friends. It's a great, great local, independently owned business. And who doesn't need a good plumber standing by 24/7? I hope you never need them at weird times and weird hours on the weekends. But if you do, Ambassador Plumbing is there for you. So I want you to remember them in case you have any kind of crisis or catastrophe outside of business hours. Now, if you're working on a remodel or a renovation of a bathroom or a new bathroom, they can do that for you too. Yeah, they do great stuff as well as taking care of crises and emergencies and catastrophes. Ambassador Plumbing, if water runs to it or through it, they do it. Small jobs, medium-sized, large jobs. They can take care, of course, of toilets and faucets and garbage disposals, things you may not think a plumber would work on, but like gas lines, cable jobs, sump pumps. Yep, they do it all. And customer service is extremely important to them. They have so many 5-star reviews. They are BBB rated and so much more. In this in Lenten season, I want to point out where they get their name from. Ambassador Plumbing comes from 2 Corinthians, to be an ambassador for Christ. They are wonderful people doing wonderful things for everyone in our region who needs any kind of plumbing services and beyond. They're at ambassadorplumbing.com. That's ambassadorplumbing.com.
42% of Missouri fourth graders can barely read. 42%. It's the worst result in 20 years. If kids can't read by 3rd grade, they fall behind in school, and many never catch up. But other states have provided a roadmap for success. Missouri needs one universal reading test for all 3rd graders and one clear statewide standard for what it means to pass that test. A struggling reader who still can't read after extra help and a second chance at the test should repeat 3rd grade with some exemptions. We also need to end the outdated 3Qing method, which encourages guessing instead of reading, and require teachers to be trained in the science of reading. In Mississippi and Indiana, test scores jumped up dramatically after these reforms, and Missouri can do the same. Missouri children deserve to become confident, capable readers, and strong early literacy reforms can make it happen. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by the Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
If you have a tree that you think is dead, it might not be dead. Why don't you try to save it first with Roots Plus? Roots Plus can help you save your tree and keep your cash. RootsPlusLLC.com. That's RootsPlusLLC.com or 314-440-3662.
Psst. Want to hear the best kept secret in St. Louis? Staff's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares. According to our customers, we have the best St. Louis-style pizza anywhere. And we can't disagree. Dine-in, pickup, or delivery in St. Peters, St. Charles, Lake St. Louis on Fort Trail, and the original Stefanitas in O'Fallon on Veterans Memorial Parkway. Check us out at stepspizza.com. Steph's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares.
Chris's Corner, brought to you by the Dental Link on Manchester and Baldwin or at dentallink.com.
Oh, teacher, I need you like a little child.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Australian crime syndicates are using fake plain packaging mass-produced out of Chinese factories to legitimise illicit tobacco and flood the legal market. The ABC has uncovered evidence of Chinese manufacturers spruiking the bogus packaging on online marketplaces like Alibaba, claiming it can be fully customised to mimic legitimate products. The knockoff packets bear a striking resemblance to the real thing, carrying stringent warning labels, pictures of smoking-related harms, and the distinctive drab brown colour chosen by Australian authorities.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
When government taxes create black markets, let me tell you a story about government. Good intentions, bad policy, and very predictable results. Australia decided they were going to stamp out smoking, so they didn't just raise taxes a little bit, they taxed cigarettes into outer space. The government now charges about $1.08 in tax per cigarette. That means a pack of cigarettes in Australia costs about $40 a pack. About 70% of that price is taxed. Now, to be fair, smoking rates did drop. Back in 2001, about 22% of Australians smoked. Today, it's around 10%. So public health officials look at that and say, see, it worked. But here's the problem. That's not the whole story. When you tax something that heavily, you don't eliminate demand, you just change where people buy it. And now we're seeing the consequences. A recent report found that 55% of all tobacco sold in Australia is now sold on the black market. More than half. Think about that. The majority of tobacco sales in Australia are now illegal. And it's not being sold by some guy selling loosies on the street corner. This is organized crime, gang networks, smuggling operations. It has gotten so bad, there have been hundreds of fire bombings of tobacco shops, fire bombings tied to black market turf wars over illegal cigarette sales. So let's step back and look at what happened here. The government raised taxes to discourage smoking, but instead of just discouraging smoking, they created a massive black market. They shifted billions of dollars from legal businesses to criminal organizations, and they created violence where there wasn't violence before. There's a lesson here, and it's a lesson governments never seem to learn. You cannot tax and regulate human behavior out of existence. You can try, you can make something more expensive, you can make something harder to get, but if people still want it, a market will form. Always. We saw it with prohibition and alcohol. It created the mob. We saw it with illegal drugs. It creates cartels. And now in Australia, we're seeing it with cigarettes. It's creating organized crime and violence. At some point, taxation stops being about revenue or public health and starts being about social engineering, government trying to force people to live the way bureaucrats think they should live. And when government pushes too far, the free market doesn't disappear, it goes underground. And when markets go underground, they don't become safer, they don't become regulated, they don't become taxed. They become violent and controlled by criminals. So the real question isn't whether smoking is bad for you. Everybody knows smoking is bad for you. The real question is this: do you want legal businesses selling a legal product and paying taxes, or do you want gangs running the market? Because in Australia right now, the gangs are winning. And that is what happens when government confuses control with common sense. And that is today's Chris's Corner. It's the same old story over and over and over, isn't it?
Yeah, did no one in Australia crack a history book about what happened here about 100 years ago in the United States of America and what an epic failure Prohibition was?
Yeah. $40 for a pack of cigarettes in Australia.
And they're firebombing stores?
And they're firebombing stores. Criminal gangs have now got into selling loose cigarettes. You heard the clip there coming in that people are making their own counterfeit cigarette packages. I wonder if they're going to learn their lesson here, Tim.
Once human beings invent, create, manufacture a product and mass produce it, and it's something, Chris, that a lot of people like, good luck trying to make that illegal and not have what has occurred in Australia happen. You can't put that genie back in the bottle once you unleash it. And cigarettes have been, I mean, I don't know how far back smoking, I don't know when somebody first pulled a leaf off of a plant and lit it up, but it was a long time ago, you know? And it's a plant, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like anybody could
grow your own.
You could, you know? And so you can't ban something like that is easily harvestable, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people could just start having marijuana, or not marijuana. They could do the marijuana too. I went immediately to marijuana. What's on my mind?
Yeah.
But tobacco. Australia's got a pretty good climate for tobacco, I believe.
Exactly.
And so you could just make this stuff in your backyard. I mean, everybody could be on the black market, you know?
55% of all tobacco sales in Australia are illegal. Over half. That's just insane because of this black market.
You know, the better way to do it is do
like you did here. Just have
tax
public service campaigns. I mean, smoking has dropped off dramatically in the United States because we've got labels on it. We've had public service commercials where you've seen the one where the person has a hole in their throat.
Oh, my God, that one's pretty.
because they have emphysema. I mean, that stuff worked. I mean, we've seen over the years that kids have stopped smoking regular cigarettes. Now they smoke marijuana, but cigarette smoking has dropped off dramatically because the government did a public service campaign, not try to tax it out of existence.
And they eliminated ads.
Yes.
Right? They got rid of all the. Remember Joe Camel?
Yeah.
Who was apparently appealing to kids because he was a cartoon character. I don't know if he did or not, but they basically eradicated all cigarette advertising. I barely remember cigarette ads like in magazines and stuff, but they used to be there with the Surgeon General warning. And now I guess cigarette companies really aren't allowed to advertise much hardly of anywhere, right?
Have you ever seen the old Flintstone cigarette commercial for Winston? Where
No,
yes,
really?
Because back in the day, the Flintstones was an adult cartoon show. It wasn't for kids. It became for kids later on. But I've seen it's a famous commercial of Fred and Barney lighting up a Winston cigarette and talking about how good it is and it's such a good smoke. Amazing.
Yeah. So here we go. Cigarette ads are not completely banned, but they're heavily restricted. Federal law bans cigarette ads on TV, radio, and all electronic media regulated by the FCC. Print ads, billboards, and point-of-sale displays are allowed, but must include strong health warnings and follow strict regulations.
And Hollywood followed suit as well. I think a few years ago, Joey can probably chime in on this, that the industry decided that they weren't going to have people smoking in movies as much because they felt that it glorified it and made kids and other people want to smoke. But smoking has been pretty much stamped out in movies. Not completely, but not like it used to be.
Not as ubiquitous, right, Joey?
Every single movie where someone smokes, it has the credits at the end that says, we were not paid for tobacco companies to use this. And I want one of these movies to say, yeah, we accepted a ton of money from the tobacco. That's why it's so cool. James Dean made it cool, and it's still cool today. I want a movie that says that.
And you even see it in the ratings where you'll see, like, partial nudity, violence, smoking. And it's like, seriously.
It's nostalgic for me, though, because I grew up on NASCAR with my dad, and that was the Winston Cup.
Yeah.
So if you gave me, like, a big jacket that said Winston Cup on it with all the patches, I would wear that and think that's really cool.
Is there still a Winston Cup?
No, not anymore.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's usually like Sprint or someone sponsors it.
Tim, going back to that story we discussed yesterday about the tragic story of the young woman in Illinois who was killed by the illegal immigrant.
Sheridan Gorman.
Sheridan Gorman. Well, you know the mayor, Brandon Johnson, he's completely clueless. He proved it yesterday to show how clueless and tone deaf he actually is. Yesterday, you're not going to believe this, he unveiled a snowplow named Abolish ICE. In an effort to expose the Trump administration's deportation campaign. And, of course, this was less than a week after this tragic murder of this young woman. But I've seen it. It's a snowplow, and on the side of it, it says Abolish ICE.
You can send me all your hate mail you want. I'm just going to go ahead and say this. Chris, I have to ask, how do these epically idiotic people get elected to public office, especially as mayors of major metropolitan cities?
Their voters are just as stupid.
I guess. I hate to say it.
I mean, I'm not in Chicago, so I don't know. All right, we got the corner at 5:06.
We're going to talk about Sheridan Gorman and how Speaker Johnson had some tough words for Democrats who have ruined urban America.
And Tim, who are we going to have on at 5:23?
My mom's cousin Fran, cousin Franny, as we always called her growing up. She's living her American dream. She's become an author. Her first novel is about my great Aunt Mary. A little story about my Italian mom's big dream. Come on down.
And we'll have all of that coming up on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli. We're sitting here with our great friend, Chris Cooper. Hi, Chris.
What's going on, Vic? How are you?
I hear you wrote another book. This one's an e-book. Is that right?
The Business Owner's Playbook for Financial Clarity. So it is a great book for entrepreneurs, a very short guide. Give people, business owners, the ability to understand key questions that are important, such as succession planning, legacy planning, getting the IRS out of our pockets, right? Because do you like paying taxes?
I do not.
I don't think anybody likes paying taxes, right? That just makes sense. And then always talking about protection. And then the other thing from a business owner perspective, what is the biggest asset a business owner has? Probably their business itself, right? We need to make sure we understand what the value of that business is as well.
So this new book, I'm sure, is incredibly expensive, right? How much?
No, it's a free resource.
Oh, it's free.
We provide guidance, we provide education because we want to make sure people feel educated and understanding because sometimes you don't know what questions to ask, and we need to make sure we help arm people with information to ask the right question.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or STLWindowsandDoors.com.
Simply Health with Dr. Brian Deloney.
Statins lower cholesterol, but do you know how they actually work inside your body? And what if there were natural approaches that work through completely different biological pathways? This week, we're diving into cholesterol science you probably never learned. Don't miss it.
Simply Health, Saturdays at noon on News Talk STL. To find out more about Simply Health Integrated Medical, log on to simplyhealthintegrated.com.
News, analysis, opinion. News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9 94.1 and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Senate Democrats blocked an amendment to voter ID legislation backed by President Trump that would have done something they publicly support, require photo identification to vote in federal elections. This update from correspondent Bernie Bennett.
Democrats, including Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, have shown an interest in voter ID, which has grown in popularity among voters across the country. Still, Democrats blocked an amendment to the Safeguarding American Voter Eligibility, or Save America Act, from Ohio Republican Senator John Husted, meant to put them on record for that position. Schumer said ahead of the vote that, quote, Republicans are once again wasting time on voter suppression. Bernie Bennett in Washington.
President Trump has issued a new warning to Iran. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
The president wrote on his social media site that Iranian negotiators better get serious soon before it's too late. If they don't, he said, there's no turning back and it won't be pretty. The president described the negotiators as very different and strange, insisting that Iran is begging the U.S. to make a deal ending the war. Greg Clugston, Washington.
A revised version of the House's aviation safety bill now has the backing of the National Transportation Safety Board, but the families of the 67 victims of last year's mid-air collision near Washington, D.C. still want to see tougher requirements to ensure the reforms are implemented. The NTSB says the Alert Act now addresses its recommendations, including requiring planes to be equipped with a key locator system. Two key House committees advanced the bill Thursday, so it will now move forward to a full House vote. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 469 points, the S&P 500 lower by 114. More at townhall.com.
If you don't care about saving 50% off your wireless bill for the same 5G coverage the big guys are charging a fortune for, maybe you care about keeping jobs in America. Pure Talk does. They've pledged to run their entire operation from this country, including all their customer service. Or maybe you care about our nation's veterans. Pure Talk does. They've donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to America's Warrior Partnership, a fantastic organization working hard to prevent veteran suicide. Or maybe you care about closing America's skills gap. Pure Talk does. They're a proud supporter of MicroWorks. They're helping my foundation train the next generation of skilled workers. Don't get me wrong. Saving money's great, and you'll save plenty with Pure Talk. But if you want to be in business with people who share your values, dial pound 250, say micro, and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Watch for storms between 9 p.m. and 3 a.m. It's a first alert weather day. Some of these storms could be strong, with hail being the primary risk. A cold front moves in tonight. Temperatures are a bit cooler tomorrow. For Friday, we get a high of 55 degrees with partly cloudy skies. And the weekend, we start to see those temperatures rebounding once again. With your first alert forecast, I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michaels Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michaels has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michaels Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for my favorite go-to store for seafood, gourmet goodness, and tons of wine. It's Stars, 1135 South Big Bend. A huge selection of seafood flown in from the coast. Lemon sole, halibut, Maryland lump crab, Gulf shrimp, and you gotta try the trout dip. Plus, imported and domestic hand-cut cheeses, lots of hand-picked wines at great prices, hard-to-find gourmet foods, and fresh roasted coffee using only the best quality beans. Stars, 1135 South Big Bend, just off of Highway 40.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
It is awesome.
And listen anytime.
Love the News Talk STL app.
Anywhere. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now. They just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Less than 1 week ago, a precious 18-year-old college student named Sheridan Gorman was shot and killed while walking in a park innocently. The illegal alien monster charged with Sheridan's brutal murder had come illegally from Venezuela, had been released into our country by Sleepy Joe Biden. He had no idea what the hell he was doing. But he was then arrested again and released again by the Democrat governor, J.B. Pritzker, one of the worst governors in the history of our country, in the sanctuary city of Chicago.
Going to talk about that in today's Speaker Stump's speech. Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 1019-94.1 News Talk STL. Chris, in addition to Mayor Brandon Johnson's goofy actions with the unveiling of the, what was it, snowplow?
Snowplow that said abolish ICE.
I don't understand. Yeah, okay, snowplow ice, so bad. In the middle of March, right? A Chicago alderwoman, Chris, did something even worse, which caused her to have to close her office after she said that Sheridan Gorman startled the guy who shot her, and that's why he shot her, and that she was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about insensitive.
Yeah. And the backlash.
So it's her fault she got shot, basically.
Right. The backlash from Chicagoans probably flooding this alderwoman. Let's give her a name,
Yeah.
Alderwoman Maria Haddon, Hadden. Alderwoman Maria Haddon suggested in an interview with Fox 32 Chicago that Gorman was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, adding that she might have startled the individual accused of killing her. Wow.
What about the fact that this individual that got startled and accidentally killed her was in our country illegally and was a criminal?
Yeah, what
about that aspect of this crime?
What about that? In a Facebook post on Wednesday, I guess yesterday, Haddon announced her office would be closed for the rest of the week due to personal safety concerns. What about the safety concerns of the dead girl?
Yeah.
Right? I hate to be so blunt, but maybe what about her safety concerns?
And, I don't want to ever see a elected official's office be firebombed or have them be under any type of pressure of being harmed. But I'm kind of proud of Chicagoans because, Chicago's a very liberal city. You think they would stand behind these comments. I'm kind of proud of them for saying that even a comment like that crosses the line, even though we're very liberal.
Yeah. She did apologize for her comments. Okay. Maybe think about them before you say them next time.
Amazing.
This young lady, it's just horrible. I mean, she's right in between the ages of my two daughters, and it makes me sick to my stomach. And it's why we as parents always worry about our kids, no matter how young or old they are, because the world has just gotten to be such a dangerous place.
And what about too, Tim? Chicago has some of the toughest gun laws in the country, of course. How did this illegal alien even get the gun?
Yeah.
Because you can't have a gun in Chicago.
This guy's illegal. He has an illegal firearm. I mean, it's everything this guy did, and he committed a horrific crime. I mean, everything about it is illegal, unlawful, and immoral. It didn't stop it from happening. Laws on the books are only as good as the law enforcement we have to enforce them and the prosecutors we have to prosecute the crime.
A lot of people think when President Trump says that these countries are sending the worst of the worst to the United States, that he's being hyperbolic, that he's just trying to hype up the issue. But I think that's truly the case, and we saw an example of that during the 1980 Mario boat lift in Cuba. Castro emptied out the jails, the insane asylums, all the worst people that he could send to the United States, he sent here. What's to stop other dictators, other despots like Castro to do the exact same thing? If you notice, too, the last few horrific murders, crimes have been committed by Venezuelans.
Yeah, indeed. They're definitely not sending us their inventors, their neurosurgeons, and their entrepreneurs, are they?
No, not at all.
Not at all. At Speaker Some Speech in just a moment on that very subject. And I want to tell you, we're going to have a family member of mine, my mom's cousin. She is the daughter of one of my great uncles and aunts. So, this has to do with my grandfather, Tunno. So it's my grandfather, Tunno's brother's daughter. My cousin Franny, my mom's cousin Franny.
When's the last time you seen cousin Franny?
It's been a long time. Man, I may have been maybe in my 20s or 30s.
Okay.
She lived out in La La Land. She lived out in L.A. for a while, where, Chris, she was a morning news traffic reporter
really?
and sidekick in
So
LA.
media runs in the family.
Yeah, she was like what was our old friend over at the old station? Denise. She was like a Denise, in the morning.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So I think Fran came back east. I think she may be back in the Pennsylvania area. So my grandfather Tunno's brothers, they stayed where they settled in Pennsylvania near Pittsburgh, and my grandfather met my grandma, who was from St. Louis, and they ended up coming here.
Oh, okay.
So that's how that all happened. So we have a chunk of family kind of in that Pittsburgh, Western Pennsylvania, Eastern Ohio.
My wife's family's from Pittsburgh.
That's right. We've talked about that. Yeah. Hey, back to our previous segment. We were talking about smoking and, famous how smoking used to be considered cool and all that. And I'll tell you what, people we have some iconic photographs, right? Of it looks cool to smoke. It's not. I'm not a smoker. You're not a smoker.
No.
It
Cigars.
looks cool, but it's a nasty habit. You know, the only thing it looks cool, but doing it, it smells, it's gross, it's nasty. But I'll tell you, one of the coolest photos I like, Joey will know this one. Joey, it's that famous old black and white of Humphrey Bogart, Lauren Bacall, and Marilyn Monroe. And Humphrey Bogart kind of got in trouble for this photograph because I think he was dating Lauren Bacall at the time.
Yeah, they ended up
getting married. And Marilyn Monroe, so Humphrey Bogart, of course, is right in the middle of Lauren Bacall and Marilyn Monroe. And Marilyn Monroe is kind of leaning over, and she's got a low-cut dress, and she's laughing. And it looks like Bogart's looking right at you-know-what, you know? And he's like lighting a cigarette in his hand. And he just looks too cool for school. And Lauren Bacall is kind of behind him like, hey, I'm over here, you know? And that photograph is hanging up in the bathroom of one of my favorite restaurants in mid-Missouri. It's called CC's City Broiler.
Okay.
It's a Frank Sinatra-themed steakhouse.
Oh,
You would
I need to go there then.
love it. It's
I need
called
to go
CC's
there.
City Broiler. You walk in the bathroom. Every time I'm there, I go maybe once a year, you know, when we're at the Capitol. And I walk in there, and I'm like, it's still there. I love that photograph.
I thought you were going to mention another famous movie star from back in the day who was known to look cool while he was smoking was James Dean.
Yes.
There's a lot of pictures of him with the cigarette.
Indeed, indeed. Joe, you know what I'm talking about? You ever seen that photograph?
No, I don't look at women like that.
Joey always makes us feel
It's
bad about
inappropriate.
ourselves, like we're a couple dirty old men. But kids, smoking is not good for you, okay? I just said it looks cool, but it's not, okay?
And I had to mention cigars because I know Joey would have given me crap if I didn't mention that I do smoke cigars. And Joey lets me know when I come in smelling like a cigar. He's not very pleased.
I think Commander Connors is known to light up a nice stogie every once in a while.
At
as
Lit
well.
Cigar Bar.
At Lit Cigar. Yeah, one of our advertisers.
Does Billy Crow host a smoking podcast now or something? I always see him hanging out at Santino's.
Well, he's hanging out with Jamie Ullman,
Yeah.
I guess,
Oh,
there.
that's
I don't
wild.
know. Yeah, I need to go to Santino's. That place sounds
Where
really
is
cool. It's down in Jefferson County.
Oh, okay.
Is it Imperial? Is it near Imperial, maybe? Or Kimswick? I hear Jamie advertises for them, and sounds like the coolest place.
Does.
So, yeah. Tim Jones and Chris Arps show rolling on. Oh, speaking of fun things to do, one more thing. If you want to go check out Mike Ferguson's show live, he will be at Whistle Pig Outdoors tomorrow morning,
love that
Friday.
name.
Yeah, it's such a great name. Whistle Pig Outdoors in Lincoln County, Troy, Missouri. Just get on the website, newstalkstl.com. You can get all the details. But Chris and I love doing remotes. Joey, not so much, but because we make him do all the work. But Mike Ferguson will be with Susie Moore and producer. Now, are they making you do that tomorrow? Joey's like, yep.
I got to get this show over with. I got to go to bed.
You got to go to bed.
I get up at 3 a.m.
And then you got to drive to Lincoln.
that's a
Then you
haul.
got to
That's
drive
a
to Lincoln
drive.
County.
Mm-hmm.
You might as well drive to Canada. Yeah, while you're at it.
I hear there's an apartment above where the owner's son sleeps, so I'm going to head there now
There you go.
just to be on premises.
Whistle Pig Outdoors with producer Joey V. I guess Jerome will be back here running the board in the studio, and Mike Ferguson and Smoozy Q, Susie Morrow, will be up there as well. All right, let's talk a little bit more about Sheridan Gorman and the horrible situation in Chicago and why this is nothing more than the Democrats' fault, at least according to Speaker Mike Johnson, the subject of today's Speaker Stump Speech.
Listen to me, listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker's Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
Apropos, Speaker Mike Johnson wrote an op-ed today. The system did not fail Sheridan Gorman. It worked exactly as Democrats intended. Tough words, right? That's pretty rough. But you know what? I think after you hear this, you'll agree that it's entirely accurate and true, and sometimes the truth does hurt. This morning at the weekly House GOP leadership press conference, Speaker Johnson highlighted the tragic murder of 18-year-old Sheridan Gorman at the hands of a criminal illegal alien in Chicago who was detained and released back into the public by the Biden administration. Speaker Johnson addressed Democrats refusing to reopen the Department of Homeland Security despite record-long airport wait times, TSA agents working without pay, and increased threats to our homeland in their effort to reopen the southern border and protect criminal illegal aliens like Sheridan Gorman's killer. All this is tied together, part and parcel. You don't have to take our word for it. Look at the Democrats' actions, and you're going to see it yet again. It's with their word Their actions, their legislation, they tell you what they prioritize. And it's the welfare of criminal illegal aliens over American citizens, Speaker Johnson said. As to the tragic murder of Sheridan Gorman, Speaker Johnson went on to say this. Sheridan Gorman was a beautiful 18-year-old, a freshman, and as has been noted, at Loyola University, enjoying time with her friends out on the pier looking at the northern lights. And now her family is mourning her tragic and total unnecessary loss. It was a life tragically cut short. The masked assailant approached Sheridan while she was walking with her friend. She ran away, tried to get away, and as you know, shot her from the back. The monster who did this, Jose Medina, was an illegal alien with a criminal record. Why is that so relevant? Because it's Democrat policies that made that tragedy possible. He had no legal right to be in this country. And we know that Medina entered the United States illegally way back on May 9th, 2023, under the Biden administration with their wide-open border policy in full force and effect. We also know that Medina was caught by Biden's Border Patrol and then released into the country, catch and release, like millions of others. Another policy of the Democrats. And thanks to their open border policy, on top of all of that, these are all indisputable facts. Medina was arrested in a major American city, again only to be released on the streets of Chicago. Why? Because of crazy Democrat policies. He would later take the life of Sheridan Gorman. So this is me speaking here for a minute. So you have a violation of the law, courtesy of Joe Biden, open borders. Then you have a guy who is caught and then released. So that's strike number 2. Caught by Border Patrol and released in the country. Arrested in a major American city, released in Chicago. This guy got like 4 or 5 strikes, and he was still running around at large. Speaker Johnson continues, the irony of all this is the system did not fail Sheridan. The system worked as Democrats intended, the one that they created. You had Democrats in charge of the White House and in charge of the city of Chicago. Open borders policies, sanctuary city policies. They coddled criminal illegal aliens, they empowered, and they allowed this to happen. That's why we're so angry about it. Medina was in the custody of law enforcement not once, but twice. And there were 2 chances to stop him. But Democrats' open borders guaranteed the release, and their soft-on-crime sanctuary policies ensured his impunity. And that's why this happened. Sheridan Gorman should still be with us, with her entire life still ahead of her. But it's the same fate that befell Laken Riley, too, and so many, many others. How many more times does this story have to be repeated? Everybody needs to be asking that very question. And that is the Speaker's stump speech.
Yeah, tragic situation. And there's just been too many of those type of incidents happen over the years. Remember first, the most notable was the young woman out in California was just out on the beach walking with her family.
Yes, that's right, on the pier.
On the pier, an illegal immigrant murdered her. So way too many people.
What did the Dems tell us during COVID anytime you or I dared to take our masks off in public? Every life matters.
Yeah.
We were told that, right? I guess they don't really mean that when they say those things. Because what about Sheridan Gorman's life?
Yeah, and I want to hear, and they're not saying anything about gun control. They're not saying anything about the gun laws that should have prevented this illegal alien from having a gun in the first place. They're crickets on that.
It's amazing how there were so many opportunities for this person, this horrific human being, to not be in a position where he could kill a young college student, right? Like, for example, for instance, the laws of our country should have stopped him at the border. That didn't.
Yeah.
Then when he was arrested, the law enforcement, the Border Patrol, but it was Joe Biden's Border Patrol, so they let him go. So that was a failure. And then the police picked him up again, and that should have stopped him, and that didn't because of soft-on-crime policies of D.C. Democrat, or because of Chicago Democrats who like to emulate the Biden administration. So, Chris, there was like multiple times where the system did catch this guy, but then Biden and Democrat policies released him back into the wild.
Yeah, it's
amazing.
They have blood on their hands, all because they want open border policies, all because they feel that America is a land of milk and honey, and that if you can make it into this country and not get caught, then you should be able to stay.
It makes me sick to my stomach every time we have to report one of these, and I hope it ends. I hope we never have to report on one of these again. But with what was done over the last 4+ years, I have a bad feeling that this may not be the last time that we have to recount such a tragedy such as this.
When you've let 12 million people in the country illegally and you don't know who they are, some of those people, I feel for them. They want to come here for better economic conditions. But a lot of monsters entered in the country with those folks.
Indeed. All right. Well, hey, we're gonna definitely turn everybody's frowns upside down. We're gonna bring in a very special guest of the show next, just after these next few words. We're gonna bring in Fran Tunno. It's from my mom's side of the family, my mom's cousin Fran. We're gonna talk about her memoir that's just been published, hot off the presses. Come on down. A little story about my Italian mom's big dream. Up next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, driving the leftist crazy all afternoon. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Watch for storms between 9 p.m. and 3 a.m. It's a first alert weather day. Some of these storms could be strong, with hail being the primary risk. A cold front moves in tonight. Temperatures are a bit cooler tomorrow for Friday. We get a high of 55 degrees with partly cloudy skies. And the weekend, we start to see those temperatures rebounding once again. With your first alert forecast, I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. I keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Let me tell you about something that I generally use. It's Royal Banks of Missouri's interactive teller machines, or their ITMs. Think of them as a branch without the lobby. You pull up, and instead of just pushing buttons on an ATM, you're actually talking live with a real Royal Banks teller on video and audio. Same service you'd get inside, just without getting out of your car. That's why I use them. They're quick, they're easy, and they're still personal. I can deposit or withdraw cash, make loan payments, cash checks, move money. And if I have a question, I'm talking to an actual human being, not a screen prompt. Here's the real advantage, though, the hours. Weekdays, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., Saturdays, 9 to 2. And if you don't live your life between 9 and 5, that convenience really matters. I've been with Royal Banks of Missouri for more than 20 years because they've always understand that convenience isn't a luxury. It's part of good service. 16 locations across St. Louis, St. Charles, Illinois, and Northeast Missouri. Royal Banks is locally owned, independently run, and invested right here in the St. Louis community. You can learn more at royalbanksofmo.com, royalbanksofmo.com, Royal Banks of Missouri, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA, SIPC.
Why are you going to work? It's Sunday.
It's a brand new show on News Talk STL. JC's Sunday Showgram.
This week, it's great backstories of my celebrity brush with greatness incidents. Adam Sandler, Vanna White, Ozzy Osbourne, and Mike Myers among them. Plus, here goes Stan Kroenke making threats again. And what was it like working with Howard Stern? I did, beginning this week back in 1982. All brought to you by the Weber Automotive Group.
Sunday morning, 7 to 9. Then podcast each Monday on NewsTalkSTL.com.
License number GL250000615.
We've seen all kinds of clogs, so remember the rule. Only flush 3 things. Number 1, number 2, and toilet paper.
What about my dinosaurs?
No.
My monster truck?
Nope.
What about...
If it's not the big 3, don't flush it.
But if someone does flush a dinosaur...
Call Grasser. We clear the clog and get things moving again.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at Stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show here at 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL, newstalkstl.com. You can download our app, listen to us worldwide, even in places like California, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, or in Italy. We're going to talk a little bit about all of that next with our next guest, Chris.
Tim, I'm glad that we have our next guest after that very depressing Tim Speaker's Thumb speech.
Yes, we're gonna lift everyone's spirits up, turn everybody's frowns upside down. Want to introduce our massive audience to my mom's cousin, Fran, Franny Tunno. She joins us now. You can check her out at frantunno.com. She got a brand new book out, something she's been working on for a long time. And Fran, I don't know if you remember this or not, I was an English literature major in college, so I couldn't be more proud of you that you have published the great American novel.
Oh, yes, the great American novel. All 184 pages of it, yes. It's a good short read.
Indeed. Well, Fran, we're going to talk a lot about the book, but first of all, I wanted you to tell about your part in your side of the family. I'm looking at this old photo you have posted at frantunno.com. It looks like a photo out of like Goodfellas or The Sopranos or The Godfather. It really does. It looks like the quintessential Italian family to me. Food and family, very important to the Tunnos, right?
Absolutely. And you know, Tim, I hate to break it to you, but you are my first cousin once removed.
Ah.
So there you go. You can't deny it any longer.
I shall not.
Anyway, yes, I am the first cousin of your mom, and we shared fathers who were brothers, which is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just thrilled to be able to speak with you guys. So thank you so much for having me on. And yes, that photograph was taken on Thanksgiving, good Lord, many, many years ago when I was still young. I think it might have even been before. I don't know, maybe 24, 25, 26, somewhere around there. And because my nephews were very, very small, and I left and moved away when they were still little. So, yeah, it's such a you know what's funny, Tim, is you look at every picture that every Italian family has. It's always around the table. It's always tons of kids. It's always families with mountains of food, and everybody's smiling and happy. And I don't know. I think there's just something wonderful about that.
Indeed.
Fran, before we get into the book, I want to ask you, last week we had a high school classmate of mine who wrote her first book. I think I have an outline for a book. It's something that I'll probably never read or never write. Tim has said that he has the great American novel somewhere that he's eventually going to write. What motivated you to write your book?
You know, Chris, I've always, when I was in college, my parents wanted me to be a school teacher. I always wanted to be, I don't know, a news reporter, a writer, I thought, oh boy, that'd be a really cool job. And, you know, eventually I got into it, but it wasn't until years after I graduated from college, I went back to school to get a degree in journalism because I loved writing. I always had a knack for it. I always really enjoyed it. And I was always someone who told stories, and I told a lot of stories about my mother because she was such a character. And I remember telling stories at my cousin Rich and his wife Sherry's wedding, and Sherry looked at me and she said, "Oh my God," she said, "you love telling stories. You should write a book. This would make a really funny book." And of course, you know, I thought, oh, great, sure. And, you know, and then I started writing down stories a little bit at a time because my mother was in her 70s, but she was not particularly healthy because she had a fondness for cured meats. Like she never met a salami she didn't love, you know? Yeah. It was not good. I knew that she would not be long for this world, and I really wanted to capture some of the stories about her because if you've read any of the book, you will find out what a character she was.
Yes.
So I started writing them down, and then you know, life intrudes. You get married, you have kids, you don't have time to do anything. You get divorced. Some of us do. You move on. You know, everything happens. And I finally came back after a very big birthday last summer, and I said, you know what? I'm getting old. I better publish this thing. Who knows how many tomorrows I have? So I just did it.
I think it's wonderful that you did. So, Cousin Fran, you've written this book. It's called Come On Down, a little story about my Italian mom's big dream. And you'll be happy to know I remember your mom, my great Aunt Mary. I remember her very well because we took many trips up to the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania suburban areas where they lived. I remember the little brick house. I remember walking in and the smells that would hit you. And then before you could even get into the kitchen, great Aunt Mary was looking at you, wondering why you were so skinny and weren't you hungry as she shoved spaghetti and meatballs in front of your face. Tell us about your mom.
Oh, God. Oh, my gosh. That was the thing that she was best known for. You ask anyone who ever visited us, and the first thing they say is, oh, my God, the food. She wouldn't stop putting food in front of me, and I kept telling her I wasn't hungry, but it didn't matter. She'd say, sit down, honey. You got to eat the something. Like it was the law. You had to eat something at our house. And if you didn't eat something, she'd look at you very suspiciously, and she'd say, what's the matter? Don't you like my food? You know? So, yeah, you were in trouble if you didn't eat. But that was part of Italian hospitality. You know, she grew up in southern Naples in the early 1920s. And so, you know, that was part of hospitality back then. Young girls weren't really educated to become CEOs. Young girls were educated to become wives and mothers. And so they were taught, you know, to crochet, to knit, to cook, to clean, to do all of those things and make beautiful lace doilies and cook and feed the masses. It was hospitality. You had to feed people when they came to your house. It was expected of you, and it was rude if you didn't.
Fran, The Price is Right, of course, has been on the air well over 50 years. I remember watching it when I was a young kid, and I think everyone who watches that show, it's a fantasy or a dream of theirs to be on The Price is Right and be next to Bob Barker and have a crazy T-shirt on and hopefully win the big showdown and spin the big wheel, the whole nine. Tell us about what led up to your mom appearing on The Price is Right.
Well, you know, Tim, she was always, you know, she was her parents' least favorite child. And, you know, here I am, armchair psychiatrist. But I think that because she was her parents' least favorite child, she always felt as though she had to prove to them that she was a winner. And she entered contests all the time. I mean, there's a chapter in the book that talks about how she went through a specific event with her father, and he said something to her that really hurt her. And then she ended up having a winning moment right then. And it changed how she treated her children. It changed how she looked at life. And she just really felt that, you know, she felt good when she won. And so, you know, it was little contests. I mean, she entered every contest. She played the numbers before the numbers were even legal. I mean, trust me, there was no contest that she wouldn't enter. And so, you know, this was something that she watched every day. She loved The Price is Right. And she thought Bob Barker was cute, much to my father's dismay. And so, you know, it was one of those wild dreams. It was just like, oh boy, wouldn't I love to get on there? I'd love to win all this stuff. She dreamed that it would mean that she was successful, that she was rich, she had all this stuff. And so, you know, that was, it was a little, she was a housewife in New Brighton, Pennsylvania, an immigrant woman who didn't really speak very good English. And this was the big dream. So there you go. I mean, and there was a woman in her card club who said to her something that my mother was very upset about. She goes, and what makes you think you have a chance? Oh, boy. That was not the thing to say.
So she got on stage?
So mad.
Did she get on stage?
My mother did get on stage. Johnny Olsen said, Mary Tunno, come on down. He mispronounced her name. You know.
So
yeah, it wasn't a great moment, but anyway.
So, Cousin Fran, without giving the entire book away, tell us a little bit about. I think you went, if my memory's correct, from what the parts I've read from the book, you went on this adventure out to California, right?
Yes.
What was that? What was that like?
Well, I have vacationed there because one of my best friends from college moved there, and he said, "Hey, come on, visit, go on vacation," and I did, and it was really nice, and the weather was perfect, and my hair wasn't frizzy, and it was great, and all his friends were really fun, and I thought, geez, this would be great, and I was at a transition point in my life, and I thought, yeah, I think I'll move to California, and of course, my mother, being an Italian, overbearing mother, was just like inconsolable. Oh, friends, you can't go, and she's mopping the floor and crying and wailing. I mean, truly, it took days. And I'm at the dining room table. She's mopping and crying, and I said, "But Ma, if I move to California, you can come visit and be on The Price is Right."
Holy
And
smokes.
Tim, I swear to God, it was as if the tears backed up into the tear duct. And she stops and she looks at me and she goes, "Really, Francie? You think I have a chance?" I mean, honest to God, it was instant. And then it was like she couldn't get me out of there fast enough.
Oh, my.
Seriously.
So,
yeah, I needed a change, and that was it. I just said, yeah, California, why not?
So she ended up out there, and how do you get on The Price is Right? Like, how does that happen?
Well, back then, now I don't know how they do it now, but back then you wrote ahead for tickets. They had a number that came on the TV screen, and you can write to this address for tickets or call up. And I think you wrote for tickets. This was back when people wrote letters.
Right,
letters.
Yes.
I know I feel very old saying that, but that was what you did. And so I sent away for tickets, and I asked for 4 tickets, and I got them. And there were only 3 of us. My friend was supposed to come, but he couldn't come. And so, you go, and then everyone stands in line. They put a name tag on you. And back then, every single person was interviewed. And they talk to you, and they see, whether you're going to be enthusiastic enough to be a good contestant. And, of course, they interviewed my mother, and she said, "Oh, every day at 11 o'clock, I got to turn on the TV and watch Bob Barker. He's a very nice man." She says, "My husband calls it the holy hour." And I mean,
That's
the guy,
funny.
the guy must have just been in his head going, "Oh yeah, we got a ringer here." This is great.
That's awesome.
And then he interviews me and my dad, and we're of course boring as paint drying compared to my mom. But it was such fun to see her actually get called. I mean, her face lit up. I've got the videotape, and I had it switched over to DVD. And at some point, I need to put it up online, and I just haven't done it yet. Because see, if I do it, then I give away the ending. And I can't give away
Exactly. Now we can't talk about that.
You
Yes.
know.
Fran, what years are we talking here that your mom was on The Price is Right?
This was 1982.
Oh, okay.
The show was recorded June 21st, which was my brother's anniversary, and then it didn't air until September 24th of that year because they film ahead of time.
Right.
We're speaking to Fran Tunno, author. She is my mom's cousin. And mine as well, once
She's
removed.
your first cousin once removed.
First cousin once removed.
Admit it.
at franstable.com, and also you can check out Fran Tunno, Tunno, frantunno.com. So Fran, these are hilarious stories. We're talking about The Price is Right and your mom and all her adventures. I also know, though, there's a lot of deeper meaning in this book. You have a very special recipe at the end of every chapter, and the book to me says so much of what I love about my mom's side of the family. The Italians, the warmth, the love, the food, the fun, the drama. That's what the book is really all about, right?
It really is. And, with Mother's Day coming up, my thought was, boy, this is a perfect time for this book because it's all about me really coming full circle from being you love your mother when you're a little kid, and then you get to be a teenager, and you're like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed I could die, and then it takes a while to grow out of that. By my mid-20s, I was pretty much over it. Although she could embarrass me whenever she felt like it if she really tried. So I really came full circle to not only go, wow, my mother deserved a little better treatment from me when I was a teenager, to, wow, mother was really pretty cool. And you know what? If she was here today, I'd give her the biggest hug and tell her, I'm so sorry, Mom. I was such a jerk to you.
I think we all feel that way. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, and if you're out there and you're listening and you've got a mom who's still alive, and just go give her a big hug, and give her one for you, one for me. Honestly, it's really nice. We don't value our mothers enough sometimes, and I think it's really important to put that message out there.
Definitely. Fran, you've got a recipes after every chapter. Do you have a favorite recipe you want to share with us?
Boy, you know what? There are so many. I mean, there's one of the really easy ones that I always loved as a kid was a chicken with olive oil, oregano, potatoes, and carrots and onions. And she would just mix it all together with her hands. She'd mix everything up. She'd sprinkle oregano all over it, bake it in the oven. She usually didn't cover hers, so the potatoes got crunchy at the bottom. I tend to cover mine, and then I take the chicken out and I let the potatoes crunch up at the end. But you know what else I loved of hers was her cannoli. She made homemade cannoli.
Oh, baby.
Yeah.
They were so good. She put a little bit of wine in the cannoli shells, and I'm telling you, they're so good. I mean, really good. So
it is fantastic.
Come to Pittsburgh. I'll make you some cannoli.
Yeah, we're going to have to do that. Well, Cousin Fran, it was delightful to have you on. And
thank you.
I want folks to go to Amazon or wherever you find books. Just go to Amazon.com. It's only $20.
Sure.
Come on. And you've got nothing but 5-star reviews, which is great. Come on down. A little
really
story about my Italian mom's big dream. Buy it for mom or for the special person in your life for Easter, for Mother's Day, Father's Day, whatever. It's great. It's a great story with a lot of great stories within the story, and I'm so proud of you for doing this. And I couldn't be happier. And I've got so many great memories about the family and all the trips we used to make up to Great Aunt Mary's house. Yeah.
Oh, well, I do remember you being there. You were very small, but I do remember you being there.
At Fran's Table, at franstable.com or frantunno.com as well. Cousin Fran, thanks for being with us. Oh, I know what I want to tell you.
Yes.
We have another show that I definitely need to hook you up with on our station. And it's one of our morning shows. Guess what the guy's name is? Vic Porcelli.
Oh, yeah.
We think he's Italian.
Yeah,
he will love it.
Right.
Yeah, he's a big old Italian. He looks like he walked off the set of The Sopranos. He moved to St. Louis from New Jersey about 30 years ago, and I know he would love to talk to you about this book.
He would.
Well, that sounds wonderful. I would be happy to talk to Vic. You can, if Joey, your producer, will send me his information, I will happily contact him.
We'll get you all hooked up. Thank you very much, Fran. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you guys
Thank
so
you.
much. I so appreciate you. Take care.
Indeed. All right. At franstable.com, frantunno.com as well. I am being absolutely. I know I was little, but Aunt Mary was somebody who left an impression on you. She was a wonderful human being.
Well, I got to tell you, just from knowing your mom, the Tunno family are very lively.
Yes, they
very lively people and energetic and funny, and so I can see your mom and your cousin there. Very similar personalities.
And I love hanging out with one of my mom's other cousins, Cousin Bob. I get to see Cousin Bob because he lives in Florida, and he's right near a place where I go to a conference every year. He reminds me so much of my grandpa, Tunno. He would have been his nephew, but he looks like they're all Italian guys,
Right.
And just a wonderful side of the family. My dad's side of the family is absolutely awesome as well. But you know those Italians, Chris. Woo, boy, do they leave a mark on you.
Definitely.
So, yeah, indeed. All right, we're going to take a final break. Sorry we went a little long there. Sorry, Jeff, but I think Cousin Fran was worth it. When we come back, Chris, what are we going to wrap ourselves up with?
We're going to talk about a recent Darwin Award winner.
Oh, interesting indeed. On the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow Tim Jones on Twitter at Speaker Tim Jones. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Watch for storms between 9 p.m. and 3 a.m. It's a first alert weather day. Some of these storms could be strong with hail being the primary risk. A cold front moves in tonight. Temperatures are a bit cooler tomorrow. For Friday, we get a high of 55 degrees with partly cloudy skies. And the weekend, we start to see those temperatures rebounding once again. With your first alert forecast, I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This is Larry Connors, and my favorite sandwich at Capriati's is a Philly cheesesteak with peppers. Sweet peppers, but sometimes hot peppers. I love Capriati's, and so will you.
Open 9 to 9 daily on Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
There's something magical about walking into your backyard and knowing your family is completely safe and secure. Hi, I'm Sean Long, owner of STL Fenceworks. That's the feeling my team and I have been creating for metro area families for more than 50 years. Whether you're adding your first fence or finally creating the outdoor sanctuary you've always wanted, we offer premium vinyl and stunning ornamental options, all designed around your family's specific needs and lifestyle. While other companies struggle with supply delays and rising costs, we've always proudly used all American-made materials, which means better pricing and faster installation for you. Our experienced craftsmen exemplify our motto, your satisfaction is our passion. From Warrenton to Wildwood, your neighbors trust us because we live here too. And we care about your project as much as you do. Right now is the golden time to build with flexible financing options and a commitment to completing your fence on time and on budget. Visit stlfenceworks.com.
Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor. Connor Roofing is now a 2-time winner of the National Best of the Best Award for customer satisfaction for roofing, storm damage restoration, siding, gutters, both residential and commercial. Please visit connorroofing.com for an estimate. And remember, you can count on Connor.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Well, I started out down a dirty road.
U.S. Postal Service is now set to add a first-ever 8% fuel surcharge on packages.
The post office says it will be a temporary price change that only applies to packages, not to letter mail. Consumers and businesses will start seeing that fee on April 26th. It is due to surging fuel prices since the war with Iran began.
Now, other carriers, including UPS and FedEx, have automatic surcharges that kick in when fuel prices go above a certain threshold.
5:49 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. And you almost have to feel sorry for the USPS. They have been in budget problems for years. I think I saw last that they're like $5 or $10 billion in debt. Their pension plan is vastly underfunded. And I've advocated for a long time that they need to just privatize the mail service, let somebody buy it, let UPS or FedEx buy it so it can be ran efficiently, because it seems like every year the price of a stamp goes up. Now, I don't even know what it is because I don't mail letters anymore, but I mean, remember a stamp stayed the same price forever when we were growing up. The
Now
price
it's like,
never went up.
Is it $1 yet? It's close to it, I think.
Probably is.
Yeah. And Chris, the funny thing is it's so embarrassing, right? Because you sit here and you go, you know that there's UPS and FedEx and there's DHL and other carriers, and if they ran themselves like the USPS ran themselves, they would no longer be in business. Yeah. And so you look at the USPS and you're like, what is wrong with you all? Why can't you figure this out when you have this plethora of other companies that deliver millions of packages, I would imagine, a year, and they make a profit and they employ tons of people all over the globe?
The only reason USPS is in business is because by law they are the only ones that can deliver first-class mail. Mm-hmm. Other than that, if they didn't have that, they would be out of.
So basically, they've become a social welfare program.
Yeah, basically.
You know?
And you know, Tim, when you get your mail nowadays, it's just AARP magazines or it's junk mail. Or you never get anything really significant anymore because everything is online.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm looking up because I really don't know. I
don't
mail
either.
things. Oh my gosh, we're close. A first-class stamp now is 78 cents for one stamp.
Yeah, that's why I do stuff online. You know what? I have a Price is Right story.
Do you really?
I watch not personally. I watch a lot of reels on Facebook. You know, you get caught up in them. Before you look around, you've been on it for like an hour. But they had a clip of a Price is Right show probably in the 90s or 80s. Bob Barker was still the host. And it was this guy, Tim. He was about as country as blue suede shoes. He was from North Carolina, had a real thick accent. And he talked about how he watched The Price is Right every single day. He was just a devoted fan. So he got called up. Not called up. He was one of the 6 contestants. You know, you have to bid on the price.
Oh, yeah, they're bidding on stuff, yeah.
This guy watched the show so much, he knew the exact price of one of the items. He was like, one, because he bid, and it was like $1,238. And it's like
42 cents.
And, and Bob was like, boy, that's a very precise number there. How did you get that? It's like, oh, I already know what it is. I saw it before on the show. And as soon as all the other contestants gave their bids, you heard that ding, 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 ding sound. He did. He got the price exactly right. He goes up on stage. He won. I forgot what the game was, but he won the game. He knew what all the prices were for the games already. You know, that's impressive. But in another sense, it's like, dude, you have no life when you know the prices of all the items on The Price is Right.
Nothing better than hillbilly brilliance.
Exactly.
Right?
It was a funny clip.
You know the Italian guy I love these days? I think we've talked about him before. My wife, Suzanne's not Italian, but she loves watching this series. And it reminds me a lot of my mom's side of the family. Stanley Tucci's. Stanley Tucci's Tour of Italy. So Stanley Tucci.
That's the guy that owns Pasta House?
No, same name, different guy. Stanley Tucci's an actor, right?
Hunger Games.
Hunger
favorite
Games.
movie series.
Yeah. No, bald guy, Hunger Games. So Stanley Tucci did this Tour of Italy series, and he's done several seasons of it. Chris, he travels. You can't watch the show and not get hungry.
Yeah.
He goes to all these like out of the way, interesting places all over Italy. He goes to Sicily. He goes to the mainland, northern Italy, southern Italy. He goes to all these villages and all these favorite restaurants. And he goes and they show you like how they make pasta and how they make the sausage and blah 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 and the sauce, and then he sits there and he eats it, you know, and then they tell stories about the community. I didn't know this. They have Italian cowboys out in the hinterlands, and they have like ranches and stuff. And they have Italians dressed in like blue jeans and cowboy hats.
Well, Joey can chime in on this. All of the Clint Eastwood movies, they made those over in Italy. It's called them spaghetti westerns.
Sergio Leone. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have
Stanley Tucci. I think you would enjoy the series. You and Becky would enjoy it. Yeah.
And I always say this. You know, if there was a such thing as reincarnation and I couldn't come back as black, I would like to come back as an Italian.
You'd have a hell of a good time.
I would, because just the food. I say this all the time. I don't understand how people that are Italian, why they all don't weigh 400 pounds with that great food.
It's because they talk and move around a lot.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. They're very excited all the time. Yeah.
All right, let's get to our Darwin Award
Yes.
winner. I want to put out a disclaimer. I'm not trying to make light of anyone's death. Any death is tragic, but this was a story that was on Fox 2. First responders in Franklin County pronounced 34-year-old Cody Lashland dead at a power plant, Ameren Power Plant. Investigators noted a DeWalt grinder that was attached to a 12-foot pole near his body, as well as a snapped telephone pole and downed power lines. Pieces from a broken vehicle side mirror were also found. Investigators determined, Tim, that he had been using the modified grinder to reach and cut AT&T wires, which were located next to the power line wire. The pole snapped, and he was electrocuted.
What?
Now, here's a kind of thing where, boy, with friends like these, you don't need any friends. His friend named Henderson asked him to ride to the power plant. Lashley retrieved his modified grinder he'd stashed nearby. Henderson maneuvered his truck under the power pole, and Lashley stood in the truck bed for extra reach as he cut the wire. Once he cut the wire, the tension caused the pole to snap and the wires to fall on the truck. His good buddy, his good friend, said he thought that Lashley jumped from the truck, and when he hit the ground, the truck and the wires were laying across it, became electrified. That's how he died. He said he quickly pulled the truck away, separating the wires from the truck and from Lashley. After seeing Lashley was dead, Henderson claimed he fled out of fear. So it's like, dude, give him mouth to mouth, or, hey, call 911 and say, hey, I know I was doing something I shouldn't have been doing. We were trying to cut these power lines. My friend has been electrocuted. 911, can you come out?
Yeah.
And what a buddy, huh?
What were these two yahoos doing trying to cut power lines?
Trying to get the copper.
Oh,
they're trying to steal the copper and sell it.
Unbelievable. I'm sorry.
That's a Darwin Award winner.
I'm not trying to be funny, but this sounds like an episode of King of the Hill or The Simpsons. I mean, I can't believe this stuff happens in real life.
I hope I don't get a bunch of emails or somebody writes to station. I'm not laughing at his death. It was tragic. He was 34 years old. Apparently, he had a family, but it's like, dude, the last place I'm going to steal copper from is from an Ameren power plant.
Live power lines.
Live power plant. And I guess he went quick with something like that. But it's tragic.
It's horrible.
You know? How much money were you going to get from
Seriously. And what do they tell you the first thing in a storm? Stay away from any downed power lines.
Yeah.
Much less going and trying to down them yourselves.
And then he has some modified thing where he's standing in the bed of a truck trying to do this. And unfortunately lost his life. All right. Great show today. Fran Tunno, make sure you go get her book, Come On Down, a little story about my Italian mom's big dream. Up next, Larry Connor's USA, the story behind the story, things that almost killed Larry when he was a kid. I hope he wasn't trying to steal copper. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great evening.
As you know, Vincent's is not just my favorite jeweler. Vincent's is my only jeweler. And I was in recently looking at lab-grown diamonds. These are not glass. They are actual diamonds, but they cost a fraction of a natural diamond. You can check them out at Vincent's.com or